GMT in Accra. From the News Hub here at Adisawe Kanda. Good afternoon, it's Midday Live with me, Nanikia Mensah Brampa. Let's go for the headlines now. And coming up this afternoon, experts attribute reported conflicts in Ghana to wrong methodologies and politicization of conflicts. Also, Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, criticizes the government, the president, for saying citizens who make corruption allegations against his appointees should bring it forward and be prepared to back it up with evidence. Elsewhere in the sub-region, it's 1 year since Gambia's new president, Adama Barrow, was sworn into office. We will be exploring his first year. We have these and more, as well as the latest in the world of business and sports in the next 1 hour. Stay with us. And remember, you can stay interactive with us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter. It's TV3 Ghana. Let's settle for the detail now. The Ghana Journalists Association, GJA, has called for the immediate recall of suspended Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Dr. Kwame Ekufu-Anokh-Ntoh. The GJA says it believes the governing board of GBC overstepped its powers since it was not appointing the authority. Now, the association in a statement urged the National Media Commission to invoke its powers and recall the Director General, Dr. Anokh-Ntoh. Dr. Anokh-Ntoh was asked to proceed on leave by the board because he acted without regard to the structures of the state broadcaster in the TV license prosecution matter. And let's move on to some more issues. And President Akufo-Addo, at a media encounter at the Flagstaff House on Wednesday, said government in 2017 nearly 1 billion Ghana cedis off the 1.6 billion Ghana cedis owed road contractors was cleared. Let's get in touch with Daniel Agro, who is the chairman of the Association of Road Contractors, to pick his perspective. Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Agro, and thanks for your time on Midday Live.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Now, from the statistics given by government, tell us how much are road contractors owed and how much has been paid?
Yeah, we know there was a lot of outstanding arrears at the time they took over. And then apart from the arrears, there was a lien on the account of the road fund. But then they managed to pay from June 2017 until October 2017. They were making payments to road contractors.
Can you give us the exact amount?
I will not be able to tell you because, one, we are not only the people they are paying. They pay ASROC members, they pay PROCA members, they pay members who don't belong to any of the association. But then, a lot of our members have been paid up to a certain amount up to September 2016. And then only yesterday they released another 120 million of payments. But in absolute terms, it's not possible to tell you they paid 600 million or 1 billion or something. We cannot confirm that. That can be confirmed from the Secretariat, but the definite amount is paid.
So you can give us the exact amount being owed and the exact amount that has been paid?
As of September, we know that they were owing road fund. Road fund alone was owing over 900 million as of September 2017. And then funded by the Minister of Finance, they were owing over 1 billion. So which no payment has been made since the end of the year. And then the Cocoa Board. Since October 2016, over 500 million was being owed to contractors. Since October 2016, nothing has been paid up. So that's the position of the debt. They ask the definite amount they have paid.
You can't tell. Yes. Right. Now, government is undertaking a process of an audit review and validation of areas. This is in public interest.
Yeah. Yes, it's in public interest. I know that those of GOG, they have been completed. The audit has been completed. They told us, they informed us that the audit has been completed, and the payment was going to be made, getting the close of the year. But then, unfortunately, it couldn't be done before the year closed. So we believe this quarter, by all means, there should be some payments across board.
Right. Well, we are grateful for your time. Daniel Agro, who is the chairman of the Association of Road Contractors, speaking his perspective when it comes to government's payment of contractors, saying that government paid some 1 billion Ghana cedis of the 1.6 billion owed road contractors, which is said to have been cleared. But he can't give the exact figures as to how much really has been cleared. Still, President Akufo-Addo has reiterated his confidence in the office of the Special Prosecutor to deal with corrupt government officials. Now, speaking at a second encounter with the media at the Flagstaff House on Wednesday, the President stated that no member of his administration will be shielded if found culpable of any wrongdoing.
Appointed Mr. Martin Amidu as the first person to hold that position. I'm well aware of the general sense of anxiety in the country and the strong feeling that politicians tend to get away with corrupt practices. A significant choice, though that Mr. Amidu is, I do not expect that he will provide all the answers, will deal with the phenomenon of corruption by public officials. But I do believe that at the least, the office will remove the fear of partisan prosecution and begin to put the fear of God in all public officials who are intending to go down the path of corruption. Just in case it needs reiterating, let me state again that current office holders are as likely to be investigated and prosecuted by the Special Prosecutor if a case is made out against them as past office holders. At all times, the rule of law must be adhered to. I've made it publicly known that anyone who has information about acts of corruption against any of my appointees should bring it forward and should be prepared to back it up with evidence. So far, every single act of alleged corruption labeled against any member of my administration has been or is in the process of being investigated by independent bodies, and the findings so far made public. It is important to note that in this, my first year of office, 2 separate bipartisan probes in Parliament have been established to inquire into allegations of corruption as against 0 in the Mahama years.
All right, so the president was engaged in the media, but the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, has criticized the president for saying citizens who make corrupt allegations against his appointees should bring it forward and be prepared to back it up with evidence. The CDD is unimpressed with the president, that is his posture relating to this particular issue. Let's engage Paul Mensah Abrampa. He is the program officer at the CDD Ghana. Good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, my sister.
Now, the CDD is not happy with the president's stance on corruption. Why is that?
Well, thank you very much. Let me take the opportunity to also greet Ghanaians who are watching TV3 this afternoon. We've been having bashing as the time we stated this, we made our intention known on this statement. Our point is that Ghana has established so many anti-corruption institutions. The mandate of those institutions is to gather the necessary feed, the necessary leak of information to inform their investigating, to establish the truth or otherwise of allegations of corruption in their country. It's a duty of every citizen in the country to try and give information to help some of these investigations. But it's not a duty of the citizen if he does not so have any evidence of the information, but has an information that can lead to further investigation, to at all costs produce evidence.
But
for instance, you are in a district.
Mr. Mensah Brampa,
a behavior of an appointee or a public officer that you think you are not clear of what he's doing, but you think there's something fishy in his dealing. It's up to you, the citizen, to give that information you have, the little that you have, to appropriate institutions that can spark investigating such officer to establish whatever action the fellow is taking.
Right.
So
now, the point, I understand the point you're making, Mr. Mensah Brampa.
Sure. Yes.
I understand the point you're making clearly, but
sure.
If one alleges an issue of corruption, which is big, is it not fair for that person to at least prove something?
Yes. Now, let's distinguish between the two statements. I'm alleging that you're corrupt on air, or I'm picking you up. It means I'm attacking your personality on air or publicly. But I'm suspecting you to be corrupt. And therefore, I'm giving a little information that I have to appropriate institution to investigate. So if the institution is taking you to court, then it's up to the institution to prove. So it is my information that will give more details to the institution to make its investigation, to be able to prove the allegation. I, the citizens who is alleging or giving out the information, I have not attacked anybody, but I suspect that with this little information that I have, if I give it to Yoko, if I give it to Shraj, if I give it to the financial department of the CID, it could help them establish a fact that can lead to prosecution of a corrupt person. That is what we are talking about.
So how would you have handled this particular statement or issue if you were in the president's shoes?
In fact, if I were the president, I would say that yes, I thank everybody who gave me this information. I'm going to ask my anti-corruption institutions to establish a structure or a system that will make it, one, so easy for citizens to leak out information that they have of suspected corrupt acts, and two, protect their identity so that corrupt people will not go attacking them if their identities are revealed. So I'll put up a structure that will make it so easy for people to be able to have access of institutions to report corrupt cases or suspected corrupt cases too, and also protect their identity. And I will resource the anti-corruption institutions to do good investigations into all reported cases.
We are grateful for your time, sir.
Welcome,
Paul Mensah Brampa is the program officer of the CDD Ghana, who are criticizing the president for saying citizens who make corruption allegations against his appointee should bring it forward and be prepared to back it up with some evidence. You're watching Midday Live. We're coming to you from the News Hub here at Adisawe in Accra. And moving on, efforts of resolving contemporary Ghanaian conflicts have proven futile. Experts have attributed this to wrong methodologies used and politicization of conflicts in the country. On the other hand, conflicts in the three regions of the north have largely been blamed on poverty. These are reports by Godfrey Tanner.
Although Ghana enjoys considerable peace, pockets of conflicts, especially in the north, have been a threat to democracy. The northern region especially has largely experienced conflicts over chieftaincy and tribal. Some findings have suggested that although poverty is responsible for the conflicts in the north, in some particular cases it is purely chieftaincy. Now, resolving these conflicts has been a great distress on the nation, but security experts are of the view the methodologies used in resolving these conflicts are not the best. On the part of the Executive Director of Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism, Emmanuel Coutin, not identifying the root causes of these conflicts is a threat to the country's democracy.
I think that democracy is under threat in this country. Why do I say that? What are the dividends of democracy? It's peace, security, and public safety. Are we having it? No. Why have we reduced democracy into elections?
Director of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces and Staff College, Professor Vladimir Chidanso, is of the view the nature of politics in the country is one of the biggest reasons conflicts are unable to be resolved.
One of the biggest props of conflicts in Ghana is politics. It's your so-called democracy. Politics. Take any of the conflicts in Ghana and you realize that there is politics underneath. Go everywhere and you see that politics is one of the biggest props, the heaviest of the props, propping conflicts in the country.
Both experts did not rule out poverty, which in their view not much has been done by successive governments in dealing with poverty in the conflict-prone areas in the north.
Look at the dam in Burkina Faso. When they started the spillage, you see our farmlands being flooded. Why are we not thinking about an alternative of getting our own version of a dam so that we can harvest water from this spillage, and this water can be used during the dry season like we are having now, where everybody is sitting home. The weather clearly is not good for any farming activities, for some form of irrigation.
Moreover, Emmanuel Colton has predicted a series of demonstrations in the middle of the year if government does not create employment for the youth.
I'm not a prophet of doom, but I foresee that by the middle of this year, if there are no tangible things the youth can lay their hands on, they'll start demonstrating.
The recent conflicts in Bimbala and Disa in the northern region, which have claimed some lives and destroyed property, have raised questions of the readiness to resolve conflicts.
You're watching Midday Live. Let's move away from issues on conflicts now. And Benoni Tony Amekoji, the lawyer who sought to prevent the Supreme Court from hearing the presidential election petition, has come hard at the government over the demolition of structures. Tony Amekoji cautioned the practice could lead to huge financial losses and economic hardship. These are reports by Eva Tiboka.
Structures in the Public Works Department area came down barely a week after occupants had made payment to extend their occupancy. Benoni Tony Amekoji says it is unacceptable, evoking powers of the Constitution.
Demolition of a property are very serious issues because they are not issues that should be taken lightly, because those are investments made, sweat and toils, resources, everything went into them. Therefore, the law requires that due process should be duly.
To the demolition of every structure, Tony Amekoji insists on legal processes.
Demolitions is on case-by-case basis. You cannot just on your own destroy it. They receive payment from them on December 28th. And so the assumption is that there was no order from a court of competent jurisdiction directing them that the building should be demolished.
The PWD demolition enforced on a Sunday baffles lawyer Benoni Tony Amekoji.
More so Sunday. If I remember, 7 January, that was where the Thanksgiving service itself was held. When Ghana was celebrating the 25th anniversary of our constitutional dispensation since 1992.
He wants investigations into the processes that led to the demolition exercise.
And still talking about structures, urban planning continues to be a concern. At today's conference in Accra, planning experts discussed ways to use the Land Spatial Act, which was recently passed by Parliament, to ensure proper urban planning. They believe this will help in future development and industrialization.
Experts from the various metropolitan and district assemblies across the country met in Accra to discuss solutions to proper planning in urban areas. There had been a lot of concern with regards to planning, particularly in Accra. But President of Ghana Institute of Planners, Alfred Kwesi Opoku, says Accra grew out of plan even before colonial days.
Accra is a city that grew without a plan. We have places like Nima, Teshi, Abobloshi, Bubuashi. They were old settlements even before the colonial people came in. So there were villages that grew without the normal current planning as we talk about.
He urged government to economically empower the people in such unplanned communities instead of pulling down their homes. He says efforts are being made to ensure the recently passed Land and Spatial Act is used for proper planning.
With the act that has been passed, we need to put in more energy, more resources, and get to the community, let them participate in the planning system, and it will work.
Deputy Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Obi Amwa, says lack of enforcement is a major concern.
This new urban agenda reaffirms our global commitment to sustainable urban development as a critical step for realizing sustainable development in an integrated and coordinated manner at global, regional, national, subnational and local levels with the participation of all relevant actors.
Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Ahomkan Lindsay, urged participants to ensure proper planning in the districts for future industrialization.
Industrialization, as I said, brings huge benefits, but at the same time, we want to ensure that we mitigate some of the potential pitfalls. And we believe it's through work like what you're doing here and the urban planning that will help us do that.
The meeting was on the theme, localizing the new urban agenda, promoting spatial planning as a prerequisite for Ghana's current industrialization drive.
Now, it's 1 year since Gambia's new president was sworn into office. On February 18, 2017, Adama Barrow was sworn in on Gambian soil. Now, Barrow first took the oath in an official ceremony at the Gambia's embassy in neighboring Senegal in January, as former leader Yaya Jammeh refused to cede power. Barrow officially replaced Jammeh, whose nearly 23-year-old rule was defined by human rights abuses. Backed by the coalition of 9 parties, he secured a 9-point lead against the Yaya Jammeh in December 1, 2016 polls, despite intimidation. Now, Jammeh, who once claimed he would rule the small African country for 1 billion years, refused to relinquish power, pushing the country into a political crisis. ECOWAS had to send in troops after Jammeh refused to leave office. And he's joining us via Skype to look more into issues concerning Gambia. He is Mustafa Carr, who is a political analyst inside Zambia. Gambia, I beg your pardon. Good afternoon to you, Mustafa, and thank you for joining us on Midday Live.
Good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to be on the show.
Now, 1 year after the rule, how are Gambians feeling? Tell us.
I think it's one of mixed feeling. There have been, firstly, you've already highlighted the challenges that face the new government. After 22 years, the economy was in shambles, and we had human rights issues. There were so many developmental challenges. So the government has done well in certain areas, but there are also areas that need improvement. For instance, if you look at the human rights situation in the Gambia, it has vastly improved. And most of the international organizations, most of the international human rights organizations who have been observing things in the country have seen a lot of improvements. At least the country is now considered to be a fairly free, democratic country. So it's done well in those aspects. But in certain aspects, the country still needs a lot of improvement, particularly in youth unemployment. Obviously, there have also been some developments, positive developments, looking at the economic front. We have more foreign currency reserves now compared to last year at this time. But as I said, there are still areas that need to be looked into. For instance, youth unemployment. The other area is also the issue of reconciliation and uniting the various factions in the country. Jammeh was a very divisive leader, as you've already mentioned, so he still has a lot of support. Unfortunately, we've not seen a lot of efforts towards reconciliation. I mean, even if there are efforts, they've not really been bearing fruit.
Mustafa, you raised the issue of unemployment being one of the key challenges. 1 year on, how is government addressing issues of unemployment, considering Gambians are part of the Africans who are usually crossing the Mediterranean into Europe?
Well, that is why I said we have not seen a lot of policy direction towards it. There's a lot of talk that you are a priority for the government, but we are not seeing efforts to address that. If you look at the situation, of course, it has declined after the elections, after the victory of Adam Barrow. I mean the youth who have taken the Mediterranean route to Europe. But we are not seeing focus. We are not seeing clear vision to address those issues, and it's a concern because we have a lot of returnees, a lot of youth who have returned to the country, and that could be a source of security challenge to this new dispensation. So I believe a lot of effort definitely need to be seen in those fronts.
Let's now look at the media front when it comes to freedom of the press. How would you grade his performance when it comes to relating with the media in Gambia?
We have not been seeing him personally on the media, giving a lot of interviews. Most of the interviews are done by officials at the Directorate of Press and Public Relations. But when it comes to, for instance, comparing this new government with to what has happened in the past, they have definitely been very positive. We have seen a lot of positive improvement.
Well, so we're just speaking with Mustafa Carr, who is a political analyst in the Gambia, giving us some analysis 1 year after. I think he's back on now. Mustafa, if you can hear us.
Yes.
Right. So we were talking about the freedom of the press. If you could start a bit from where it ended before that little glitch.
Yes, I was thinking that Barrow definitely needs to be seen more in public, giving more interviews about his vision for the country. But in terms of arresting, the arrest that we are here, the stifling of the media and press freedom, we've seen a lot of improvement. Now you, on the radios, you hear a lot of programs that are very critical of the government. And one thing I need to say is there are also attempts to liberalize the market, especially when it comes to the television aspect. We've seen a new entrant. Previously, what Jammeh did was to only allow one state television station, which was the national, as I said, the national television station. But we've seen a new entrant, which is QTV. So that means the government is opening up the media to plurality, which I think is good for democracy, because the more voices you have, the better for everybody, the better for divergent views.
Now let's look at the finances of the economy after Jammeh's departure. There were lots of reports emerging that more than about $11 million haven't been disappeared from the coffers. How far has it reached?
Well, there is currently a commission of inquiry into the financial dealings of the former president and his close allies. And the revelations are just stunning. For a poor country like the Gambia, the amount of money that has been stifled away is mind-boggling. We are talking about, there was a time, possibly hundreds of millions. There was one situation where it was disclosed at the commission that the former First Lady had in her account, in one of the local banks, an amount of hundreds of millions of US dollars. And this is a country that is very poor, that virtually has not had any natural resources exploited, a country that is dependent on aid. And there are more revelations coming up. So it's really a very, very bleak situation. But where we have seen positives, especially from the government, is with regard to foreign currencies reserves. We've seen a stark improvement from what was happening a year ago at this time. We've seen, from what we've had, from what we've read in the media, we have almost an increase of $200 million.
Thanks for staying with us on Midday Live. Let's do some business now. And the Ghana Standards Authority says it is poised to assist garment manufacturers to come up with original sizing or correct sizing. Ghanaian apparel are rejected on the international markets because their sizing is below standards.
Remains essential to apparel manufacturing. Years back, many people preferred to buy fabrics and have them sewn after their measurements were taken rather than buy ready-made clothes. The danger, however, is whether it will fit. Sizing, according to experts, remains a major factor depriving Ghanaian apparels from international patronage.
The garment workers, do they understand, do they have the required skill, or do they need an enhancement of skill to enable them compete very effectively with other garment workers in the traditionally known garment production countries? If not, then I think clearly we appreciate that we need to get in some expertise to conduct some trainings, even on the factory floors or in the sector, to enable us to compete very effectively.
Participants at a stakeholders forum in Accra shared ideas on the way forward. The Ghana Standards Authority says it is ready with all it takes to help manufacturers overcome this.
Anybody who wants to import any of the Ghana products, we want to be sure that it meets the right standards, it meets the right quality, and the appropriate body to conduct this is the Ghana Standards Authority.
Participants were taken through presentations on the need for appropriate tools in measuring people.
If you want to compete with the whole world, you want to export to the America, this is the standard that they'll be using to judge you. So it is important that no matter how your level, once you want to enter into the international market, you should face up to the standard.
Gideon Nyamison represented the National Tailors and Dressmakers Association.
Challenge of sizing, measurements and those stuff. So what they are doing right now is very relevant to what we do, and I think it's a very big step towards resolving this challenge.
I doesn't have control over zip, works, and all those notions, but because for me, I don't have any other alternative, I have to go there. So GSA also must able to meet and make sure that anything that comes into our market should be conforming to the standard that we are talking about.
The Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority says it is time we moved away from these.
When you're buying a dress, you're attracted to it, but the next thing you do is the size. We do know that in countries where there are laws, return clothes, 60% of all return clothes is due to the sizes. Our problem is that Ghanaian fabrics don't have sizes. Fugu, kaftan, kaba. Now, if you want to sell to a global audience, people will buy online. They are not going to come to Ghana to fit.
And ExxonMobil has signed a petroleum agreement with the government of Ghana to acquire exploration and production rights for Deepwater Cape 3 Points block. The agreement is subject to parliamentary approval.
ExxonMobil's investment in the oil sector becomes the first major one in Ghana, following the landmark ruling by its laws in the maritime border dispute between Ghana and Ivory Coast in September last year. The exploration activities include acquisition of seismic data and analysis, and is expected to commence later in 2018 in the Deepwater Cape 3 Points block, located 92 kilometers off the coast of Ghana. ExxonMobil will carry out the work program as an operator and will hold 80% interest, and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation will hold 15% interest. ExxonMobil is expected to work with government to identify a Ghanaian company to potentially hold up to 5% interest.
Here in the countries we produce, over 90% are nationals. We're very involved in working with the local communities and developing the talent that's here, and we look forward to that opportunity in this ultra-deep water.
The Minister of Energy said the move will increase government revenue from the sector to propel economic growth and transformation.
It costs roughly $150 million to drill one well. And when you drill the well, there's no guarantee that there will be oil. On average, you're looking at drilling 19 wells to begin production. So you need a company that has the financial muscle to get it done. We are in a hurry, and we want companies that can get the work going.
ExxonMobil joins other operators in Ghana's petroleum upstream sector, including Tullow, Cosmos, and ENI.
All right, so we're taking a breather here. When we return, Yalfo Sulabi joins us with the latest in sports. This is Midday Live. Make sure you are accepted in your home region before you try to venture into the Accra markets. Now, these were the words of advice from 2016 VGMA New Artist of the Year, Fancy Gadam, to all up-and-coming artists from outside Accra who hope to break through.
He was filling out arenas even before he became recognized as a force in the music industry, which is biased to Accra-based artists, mainly because of the language barrier. Fancy Gadam sings in his native Dabani and sometimes Hausa.
After winning the New Artist of the Year, my management said we have to get somebody here that can also give us attention, you understand? So that was the reason why we featured Sarkodie on To Touch It. And you know, I speak in the local dialect and I've added some English in it so that Sarkodie could add tree, so that people who don't understand my language can also understand what the content means.
The Gadam Nation boss is ready to set the airwaves blazing with his new banger, Customer, which features Nigeria's Pato ranking.
Customer, you make her confused. Customer, mambola perfume.
He maintains the song Customer does not in any way connote any derogatory remarks about women.
Your body in a special, rara, maintain commercial, or you agree one-on-one official. You understand? So you should
exclusive relationship.
She should maintain the commercial, or she will leave the commercial. Then you maintain one-on-one official. That's marriage. Yeah.
He also had this to say to up-and-coming artists from other parts of the country.
Ghana music is not all about Accra. No, you go feed your corner, then you do your things. Trust me, they go recognize you. I not begin my music career for Accra. No, I do it for the northern region. Make sure the 3 northern region accept Fancy Gadam before I move. Fancy Gadam be my pride. So you need to go feed me your pride, like the pride of your region.
He revealed that although he is eyeing the ultimate VGMA Artist of the Year award, it still remains anybody's game.
Girl, I promise I will give a better you. And now you know that you don't.
Well, coming from Fancy Gadam, I will remain the pride of the Central Region. Well, that's it for Midday Live. A recap of our top stories this afternoon. Experts attribute repeated conflict in Ghana to wrong methodologies and politicization of conflict. Also, the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, criticizes the president for saying citizens who make corruption allegations against his appointees should bring it forward and be prepared to back it up with evidence. And elsewhere in the sub-region, it's 1 year since Gambia's new president, Adama Barrow, was sworn into office. We also explore that area. For more of this, you can visit our website, it's 3news.com. You can also stay interactive with us on Facebook and Twitter. It's TV3 Ghana. The conversation continues, but that's it for Midday Live. More on TV3. Have a good afternoon. My name is Nanikwe Amensah Abrampa, and enjoy your lunch.